So Trevin, give us some just practical advice about the habits that communities, that churches, that different institutions can perhaps begin to implement to start changing their culture, to start changing kind of their imagination and their desires in a way that's healthy.
Yeah, I think it depends on the sphere of life that you're working in. I think one of the first things to do is not look for new habits to add, but to seek to be intentional about rooting out habits that might actually be bad or forming you in negative ways, and replacing those with habits that are better. So that actually, a lot of times we think, we think of habits and practices that might change a culture, and we think of a to-do list of things to add. But the truth is, we already have a culture. We're already in a culture. All of the different spheres, institutions, churches, families, universities already have a culture embedded. The first question we have to ask is to back up a little bit and to say, what are the practices, the rituals, the habits that have made that what it is? Yeah. Because unless you start there, you're going to be adding, it's kind of like changing the paint on the wall. You might actually have to do a little demolition first on the walls before you can move into that area. So I would start by asking some questions about your own personal habits. Just for example, to use personal individual habits or family life habits. I mentioned earlier about work-life rhythm, or with emails and things like that. What is it about the smartphone that's so seductive? One of the questions that you might ask is, okay, where am I on the smartphone in my home, and why do I go to this place or in this environment or at this time of day to feel like I need to be checking my social media, or I need to be on this or that? Begin asking, what are my habits already? And let me identify if those are good or bad, if those are helping me or those are hurting me. I mean, our family has, we've made a decision, like my wife and I, like we won't have smartphones in our bedroom or bathroom. Like, there's no reason why at nighttime we need them there. We have an alarm clock. It's this amazing old-fashioned thing, that'd wake us up rather than having to set the smartphone clock. But because we never want to be tempted to to be checking if we wake up in the middle of the night, something. And I'm not saying that's right for everybody, but for us it was just like, hey, let's have phone-free zones in the house where we're present, and where I want in the morning when I go to my desk to read my Bible, that to be the very first thing I do, not to check Twitter.
And it's not a although it can have, sometimes when I talk to people about this, they're thinking like, oh, you're talking about parameters for pornography. And yes, I think that's a good idea to
we
set
ought
that
to have
up.
parameters.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're talking about how social media shapes us in more
in subtler ways.
Yeah, more subtle ways.
Yeah, I mean, pornography is obvious. Okay, so a lot of people will say with a phone, we need to be really careful about the content that's coming into the phone. And that's true. We should be. I mean, there's a lot of bad content out there. But what about the phone itself and what it does to us, what it makes us as human beings? Like, I mean, our son is 12 years old. He would love to have a smartphone. Out of 16 people in his homeroom class, only 4 don't have a smartphone. And why don't I have a phone, Dad? Are you afraid I'm going to access something bad on it? Well, not really, because we can set filters and things, and I think we could manage that. It's not the inappropriateness of what he might find.
You want him to be the uncool kid.
No, it's not that either. And I mean, honestly, we've wrestled with that.
Right?
The pressure's there. No, my answer to him again and again has been, son, I want you to have a sphere of your life where you're not caught up in middle school drama. And if you are at middle school all day, and then you go home, and you're on social media all evening, all afternoon, with the same classmates and all the drama that's going on, you're never off. You never get a respite. You never get a break from that, a relief from that. And so he kind of understands. I don't think he really likes our answer, but he kind of understands but it's a culture thing. It's a culture of our home. It's a culture. It's kind of guarding and protecting his own heart so that he can manage and function well.